Welcome to the Final Expense Sales Academy, the hub for mastering the art of final expense life insurance sales. If you're looking to become a pro in the final expense industry, you're in the right place. My name is Kyle Williams, and I'm your host to go through the ins and outs of the final expense business, from tips to tricks to industry insights. We cover everything you need to close deals with confidence, provide true value to your clients, and become a better insurance agent. So hit that subscribe button and let's get started on elevating your sales game one video at a time. Hey guys, in this episode, we are going to talk about the use of empathy in final expense sales. So before we break in why we want to use empathy in final expense sales, let's break down the difference between empathy and sympathy. So they're two very similar things, but they really are two different things. So I'm going to give you the definitions that I pulled from Webster. So sympathy is the feelings of pity and sorrow for somebody else's misfortune. Empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings for the other person's situation. So the use of empathy is crucial when we do final expense sales. So oftentimes we are selling to low middle class America, and they're not quite as fortunate as us. Now, some of us grew up in the situation like that, so you understand that, while others grew up maybe in a more middle class, middle upper class, or upper class family. So when you get in the situations that a lot of our final expense clients live in, or their experiences that they may have, it may be a major culture shock for you. And the thing is to not look down on these individuals. It is to get on their level and stay on the same level as them. Because if you look down on them, you are acting like every other person in America, and they just want somebody who understands them. So that brings me to a story early on in my career, just getting started. And I remember sitting with a client, and they may have made $1,000 a month. They're on Social Security or disability. They weren't making a lot of money. And we were talking about they needed some life insurance. They wanted it. And we started talking about plans. And when we laid out the plans, they chose a plan for around $100 a month. And I was sort of thinking, man, that's 10% of your check that's going to a life insurance policy. And I was thinking, that doesn't make any sense. But to them, it made 100% sense. And I learned a lot that day. What it taught me is to understand, have a good feeling and understanding of their situation. So it doesn't matter how much money you have. Most normal people don't want to leave a sense of burden and financial burden to their family whenever that day comes. So they want to do whatever they can to prevent that. And if it requires spending $100 a month, that's what they do. It doesn't make much financial sense, but that's what they choose to do. Our job is just to come by there and serve them and do our best to help to make sure that they're taken care of. So I tell that story to dive into why empathy is necessary for final expense sales. The best visual aid I know of is a book that I read early on in my sales career that taught me a lot about sales, and that is The Psychology of Sales by Brian Tracy. I highly recommend that book as a book that you can read to learn about sales. But he explains it this way, and it makes the most sense. Imagine you're sitting at a table, okay? You're talking to the client. Obviously, you're probably going to be sitting across from one another. But when you're talking to them, when you're listening to them and you're trying to understand their perspective, imagine yourself sliding into the booth and sitting next to them and seeing things the way that they do, so that way you can understand their situation better. So it's getting on the same side of the table of them and seeing things the way that they do. That is empathy. That is the best visual aid of empathy I've ever seen. So you don't have to necessarily agree with whatever their perspective is, but you have to be able to understand it. And by doing that, you can understand their situation. So, and that's really any sales in general. It's always understanding the other person's point of view. What your point is for them is really irrelevant. It's more about understanding their point of view so that way you can serve them. That is sales. So I hope this video is helpful. As we wrap up here, be sure to subscribe to our channel. That way you catch all the latest videos. If you have any questions, comment below. If you receive something valuable here, share it on social media, share it with your friends, and we look forward to seeing you in the next episode.